Thank you so much, Ms. Reschel, for that wonderful introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, educators, and technology enthusiasts, good morning. Can't hear you. As the MC said, my name is Aparna Rajan. My journey to nurture young minds started 18 years back. Now, don't judge my age now. And is still continuing with the same passion and enthusiasm. Being an educator was my choice, and it did not happen by chance. As a kid, I wanted to be a Wonder Woman, a psychologist, a philosopher, a philanthropist, an actor, a comedian, so I became a teacher. I am a part of Toastmasters fraternity, started Gavel Club for students and Toastmasters Club for teachers 5 years back to enhance their professional development. How many of you know Toastmasters here? Lovely. That's great. All those who don't know, please meet me in the networking session. I will definitely tell you what that world is. Honored in the top 30% of teachers globally in the International Teachers Olympiad, I'm a lifelong learner. Presently, I am heading the Department of Business in GEMS Founders School, Dubai. I have seen digital revolution at my workplace in true sense. From attendance to curriculum, to assessment, to data analysis, to admin tasks, everything has seen a massive change from paper to being digital. When I was a student, my teacher used to tell me, if you want to change the world, pick up your pen and write. And in today's world, I believe probably the teachers tell their students, if you want to change the world, pick up your mouse and scroll. We are gathered here today to delve into an incredibly relevant and transformative subject that is shaping the future of education worldwide. The digital revolution has had a profound impact on almost every aspect of our lives, and education is no exception. In the last decade, we have witnessed an exponential growth in the technology adoption within K-12 schools, bringing with it a wave of possibilities and challenges. This panel discussion aims to explore the incredible potential of technology in the educational sphere, along with hurdles we must overcome to ensure its successful implementation. Throughout our session today, we will be fortunate to hear from a distinguished panel of experts who have dedicated their careers to the intersection of education and technology. Together, we will examine how digital tools, online resources, and innovative platforms are reshaping the teaching and learning landscape in K-12 schools. We will also address the crucial role that educators, policymakers, and industry leaders play in harnessing these advancements to create inclusive, effective, and engaging educational experiences for our students. I encourage our panelists to share their insights, experience, and expertise freely, fostering an open and constructive dialogue. Likewise, I invite our audience members to actively participate by asking questions and sharing their perspective during the question and answer session. Let us remember that today's conversation is not just about technology, it is about the students who stand to benefit from these advancements, the young minds who will shape our future. It is about equipping them with skills, knowledge, and critical thinking abilities they need to thrive in an increasingly digital world. With that said, I would like to express my gratitude to our two eminent panelists for joining us today to share their invaluable insights. Our first panelist is Richa Bhushan. After starting her career as a middle school teacher 30 years ago, Richa Bhushan transitioned to the edtech industry. Her expertise lies in instructional design, content development, and product management for education. Throughout her career, she has designed digital learning products and solutions for K-12, higher education, government institutions, corporates, and the skills sector worldwide. She is the founder and CEO of Content Guru. With a huge round of applause, please welcome Richa Bhushan.
Thank you.
Coming up next is someone who is bilingual and bicultural. Interesting. She studied classical singing, children's vocal, and music pedagogy at the University of Applied Sciences in Germany. She has led multiple children's choirs and taught music and theater both in the German public school system and for various other private organizations. In addition, she trains early childhood specialists in how to teach music and movement to children at an organization named Intelligence in Germany. Put your hands up for our creative panelist, Stephanie Weithaus.
Thank you.
Together, let us embark on this enlightening journey as we explore the digital revolution in the K-12 educational system and its transformative potential. Hello? Now, let's begin the discussion with our content guru, Richa. According to you, how has the accessibility and availability of digital resources affected educational equity in K-12 schools?
So, you know, it's really funny. For the past 2 decades, we've been waiting for the digital revolution. Every so often, we would hear these reports. It's got $1 million industry, $2 billion industry. Nothing would happen. We'd wait year after year for the revolution to happen. And then, bam, came the pandemic. And suddenly, everything turned digital. And now the industry is projected to be, I think, about 8.4 billion by 2025. And I think that might be a underestimation. We're probably going to be bigger than that. So it really took, all it took was one pandemic to change the entire digital revolution. And, you know, so there was obviously the issue of adoption. There was the issue of access to digital resources. And I must say that each country really stood up really fast to help bridge the gap. In the US, the Department of Education gave devices, did teacher training very fast. There were a lot of private institutions also who suddenly opened up their libraries of content for the whole world to use so that, you know, education could go on. In the UK, there was the EdTech Demonstrator Program, which was basically to help teachers, equip them, support them for teacher training. And there was Get Help for Kids, which helped giving devices to the disadvantaged. In the UAE, there was the Distance Learning for All, again providing you know, devices, computers, tablets, whatever the children needed to continue their education during the pandemic. And in India, like yesterday when I spoke about the Diksha platform, which had all the, it's an open platform for teaching and learning resources. There's the ePathshala, which is a low storage app, which kind of helps a lot of you know, children across the country where internet connectivity is slow or low. So everyone really jumped in. There was public partnership, there was private partnership, there were non-profits. Everyone jumped in to support the digital revolution, which was literally thrust upon us.
Thank you so much, Richa. I completely agree with that. Really, pandemic did see a boom in the digital revolution. As you rightly said, probably we were waiting for it, but pandemic in a positive way helped us to transform the whole education sector. Thank you so much. Now, coming to you, Stephanie, what are some of the key benefits of integrating digital tools and technologies in K-12 classrooms, specifically if I ask you in teaching music and arts?
Well, the pandemic did one very big thing for music. It kind of got cut out of the system because it was very hard to create or make music lessons online. Though there were some developments like music, like Duzu, at least in Germany, where the delay that you had in Zoom was no longer an issue, and at least there were some tools that could be used to help teach the children. On the other hand, you have the basics, so video, audio recording. That's pretty much how I stayed in contact with my children's choir during the pandemic. I sent videos or audios that they could practice at home with their parents. For arts, you always have image from the internet, things like that. And in general, of course, the communication got much faster through emails, through WhatsApp, through various groups that you could just add to it. In general, I do think it's still difficult to teach something like music online because the interpersonal relation and the attempt to evoke any kind of emotional response needs a personal connection, and that personal connection is more difficult done through a screen.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more, because, you know, how do you teach a child to dance or sing? It's really hard. I think the arts have kind of suffered really a little bit, I would say.
Yes, but there are some movements in a right direction where we can do it online or find a connection online or do some kind of balance between the two.
That's true. So basically the integration of digital tools should aim to enhance, not replace the core foundation of music and arts. Absolutely.
I actually have a question. Does
Yes.
this, you know, with the everyone coming back to school, has it become more in person?
For the arts, definitely. I have, once again, all my kids in the children's choir. Actually, we grew a lot after the pandemic. I mean, on the one hand, many of my co-choir leaders, they complained of how little the children they had in their choirs and how much the admissions rate went down. I did not have that experience. It was the exact opposite. I went from 2 children in the beginning of 2022 to 20 within 6 months. So it's not, I don't see the issue that many others have relayed to me.
Coming back to you, Richa, what are some innovative ways that you would tell us in which schools are utilizing digital technologies to enhance the student engagement and participation? Being a content guru, where do you feel?
Yeah, so one of the programs that we ran here a couple of years ago in the UAE and in Africa and even in some parts of Asia, I think it was Malaysia and Indonesia, was the Skills 21 program. We spoke about 21st century skills earlier on in the morning. And this was really a blended learning program, as in it was in-person digital. It was a game, so kids love games, so it was an actual game. But the children played it all together in one physical space. And the teacher was actually physically present, and she was the moderator. So she or he would be the moderator. They would actually give children tasks, and the tasks would be conducted on in the digital space. However, she would observe their behavior in the real space. So they had to actually problem solve, they had to think critically, they had to collaborate to come with conclusions, they had to actually make decisions on what to do next. Each time they started off with, say, a few coins, and they could only use a few coins to, you know, fulfill a mission. And they had to, amongst themselves, figure out, you know, how do we fulfill this mission? Should we use these coins? Then we lose out. How are we going to go forward? So they did all that planning all together, physically together. And yesterday someone asked a question on conflict management. So this was another beautiful way to actually see how they dealt with conflict, how they collaborated to actually solve the mission, or, you know, complete the mission, and they would then go on. So it had elements of both the physical world, it had elements of soft skills, it had digital elements, and it had a lot of gaming and gamification. So it was really a very delightful program and something quite unusual and something that all the teachers and students came back saying they hadn't really done anything like that before. Another thing that we did was in India, in a school in Gujarat that I work with, and what they wanted to do was a flipped classroom. They wanted to basically make children more responsible for their learning. So they had tried flipped classroom a couple of times by giving digital resources, say a PDF or learning materials or the book, read the chapter, come back. Nobody did that because they all knew that the teacher is going to explain it later on. So they really didn't do any of that. However, this time what we did was we told them that we had the teachers record the lessons, their own lessons, using this software which is quite freely available called Prezi. So they recorded their lessons and they sent it out to the children. So as homework, the children came prepared, watching the lecture rather than having the teacher teach in the class. So when they came back into the classroom, the teachers actually then asked them more insightful questions, the higher order thinking skills questions, instead of spending the time on knowledge, which they anyway acquired with the lectures or the classroom material or the videos. They actually then started, analyzing what happened, started looking at problems, looking at applying what they had learned. And so that was a really beautiful experience of blended learning. And the third one that we did was with the same school where we did student-led learning. So instead of the teacher telling the children or teaching them, we formed little cohorts where the students actually prepared the lesson as they would want to teach it to their peers. And we came up with a rubric very clearly so that they knew, because they had done this experiment in the past and it hadn't been very successful because the children were all over the place and they felt that they had to actually repeat the lesson. So the teachers were a little demotivated, saying that, we'll have to come back in class and teach anyway, and the kids know we are going to teach, they don't take it seriously. So in this case, we gave them a rubric. We said, we're going to grade you. These are the criteria. This is what you need to do. So again, between the whole cohort, the groups, the kids actually figured out, collaborated with each other, caught each other out when they were missing the point because there was a clear rubric to follow. So it was a little bit like the open book test that someone spoke about again yesterday or day before in one of the sessions, that they were told what they're going to be tested on, and they were also told that the class will not be repeated by the teacher later on. So that worked really beautifully as well.
That's amazing, Richa. I personally have benefited with the student-led lessons, and the students take it more seriously when they have to present it in front of everyone, when rubrics are set, and more than that, when they know that it will be a part of their assessment. So the moment you say that, everyone is ready to go in for it. And it makes all the more easy for the teachers because we are actually helping the students to come up and analyze critically the content or the concept, evaluate it, and then present it. So what we do is we make cohorts in such a way that everyone has a chance to speak on something, either it's knowledge or analysis or application or evaluation. So it actually helps them in collaboration. So not only the content is taken care of, but also the soft skills where they help each other and collaborate.
And training the next generation of educators.
Exactly. Coming to you, Stephanie, what are your thoughts on the strategies or policies that can be implemented to ensure the responsible and ethical use of technology by students?
Well, my first response would be definitely education and communication. One should definitely communicate with parents, with teachers, with the children themselves. What are the dangers of the digital age? What are the, false information's out there? How do I think critically about what I see? Where can I recognize when a video is fake? Things like that. I know that my uncle tended to send us interesting political videos, which he was then enraged about, and we then found multiple things like, that can't be right, the license plate is not even matching the country. Things like that just help them realize where are they wrong, where are they right, and what is my own opinion and not just the opinion of others. I can only say what the German laws are concerning images for children online. As a teacher, as a choir director, I have to ask permission from the parents whenever the child appears in a picture at all. If I post it online, it has to be without the name or only the first name, no identifying markers that can lead back to the child's age or to the place where it lives. Unfortunately, those laws are not discussed freely in that sense. We kind of find out the laws by mouth-to-mouth propaganda. It was not part of my curriculum in the studies, so each time I just kind of did a blanket letter home to the parents, okay, is the child allowed to do this, this, and this, and this? It does create more issues as well, and it can go too far. There are parents that refuse to have their children part of a class group picture, and then that memory gets lost for the child. On the other hand, it doesn't go far enough because a bunch of children show up online anyway, despite the fact that parents either don't allow it, or they're the ones themselves that post the kid online but forbid it elsewhere, which is also not right. So I think there it should be a clear communication of what are the dangers and how can we help or prevent them.
That's absolutely correct. We should establish policies specifically in schools. And here in UAE also we have almost the same laws, how just now you spoke about the German laws, and we follow strictly over here, otherwise strict penalties are levied on people over here.
Yes, the fines or the lawsuits are nothing to be reckoned with.
Coming back to you, Richa, what role does digital literacy play in preparing students for the modern workforce?
Yeah, that's a very, very interesting one, and one very close to my heart, because what happens is that all of us say, oh, our kids are so digitally savvy, kids know more than us, and all of that. And then the very same kids grow up and go into the workforce, and they are not able to use digital tools appropriately. Not that they don't know how to use it, but they don't know what to do with them and what is permissible and what is not permissible. So for example, we spoke about data security in schools. The same thing applies to the workplace. Even things like social media, for example. You can't be ranting and raving about your workplace and criticizing. It's just digital etiquette. So I would say it's really digital etiquette that's really important there for social media, that there's a certain way in which you behave online. The other thing that we really need to look about the digital aspect of digital literacy really is that though the kids know how to use MS Word, send emails, and the usual tools, how to use Zoom and things like that, what happens actually in the workplace is if they're asked to write a report, they don't know how to. If they're asked to send an email, they don't know who to address it, who to copy it to, when to reply all, when to reply to someone privately. They're asked to take the minutes of a meeting, they don't know how to do. And employers actually expect graduates or school graduates to know that, because we are living in the digital age. But they really don't know how to organize their thoughts. They don't know the structure of using technology in a formal setting, in a workplace setting. So I think digital etiquette and organizing thoughts, knowing the method of using the tools in a professional environment, that is what digital literacy must be all about.
That's absolutely true. Digital literacy has now become an indispensable skill set for anyone, not only for student, but for any workforce. And I completely agree with you that people still do not know when to reply in a mail to all and when to reply privately. I myself have undergone that it seems to be small, but it's not small, right? Coming back to you, Stephanie, as an educator, can you throw some light on how has the digital revolution impacted the teaching and learning methodologies in the classroom?
From my observation, there are two ways it went prior to COVID. One was teachers who refused to use anything new, even if it would better their methods, their teaching strategies, and their lesson plans. And then there are the teachers that wholeheartedly embraced it. But there was also a tendency to be over-reliant on then the new things. Especially in the last decade, we went very quickly and it got very rapid changes. Since I graduated to now me teaching in schools, we went from the overhead projector to beamers, to then smart boards and docu-cameras, which I have no problem using. I taught myself how to use them, but teachers do not necessarily get the training to use them, or if they do, it's like a crash course, and then they are thrown into the cold water and say, have fun swimming. It's very important to not be overly just reliant on those methods. Your own teaching skills still are required and needed in combination with them. And also, since children learn very visually, one should also know when to use that visual medium and when to address the other senses. So for one thing, I think also teachers need help in that area to get the education and the training needed to use all these new tools.
Now the teachers, instead of being just a source of information, their role has changed just from being a source of information to a facilitator.
Yes.
So as you rightly said, change is something which is not constant, and we need to adapt that in order to survive in this world. It's as simple as that. Like if you give a smartphone to a 14-year-old and to a 50-year-old, a 14-year-old will be able to explore it in a more effective manner, in a more better manner than a 50-year-old, because 14-year-old doesn't have any fear of judgments. But a 50-year-old will feel that what if something goes wrong? What if I'm not able to do that? What if actually restricts everyone?
And it comes also when you don't feel confident using something, you don't really want to use it in front of your students. There's a certain level of embarrassment, especially when the students know the stuff better than you do. In addition, I've observed also coming out of COVID. During COVID, everybody had to somehow adapt to the situation. But coming out of COVID, many teachers went back to the refusing to use anything digital because they didn't know how to adapt their lesson plans they've done for the past decade to whatever new medium they could use. And that should be helped in some way.
So I think one way would be to just ask the kids to help them. It's so simple, they're right there. Yeah. And, you know, the solution sitting right in front. You see the children itching to help the teacher when she's struggling. The teacher doesn't have to be, we attended the session in the morning on leadership. So the leader doesn't have to be the know-it-all person. It's always, there are so many opportunities to learn from the students as well.
And it also helps to teach the students that it is all right to ask for help.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, yes. Stephanie was just talking about the training that the teachers lack. How can teachers be effectively trained and supported in digital revolution?
So Stephanie's spoken a lot about this, but I think the idea is, I think it's a mindset, or it's a barrier in their minds that teachers feel that they would rather not use technology. Every time a new system or a tool is introduced, it's not embraced. It's looked at upon with despair. Oh dear, we've just finished using this and now they've changed. Unfortunately, that's how the world is moving. And I think it's also very exciting. So I think the way to train them is to motivate them, to bring in that enthusiasm and excitement and show them how these tools and technologies and systems are going to really benefit them. So again, coming to one of the workshops I had in school in India, they were always cribbing about using technology tools and all, and I showed them a tool, and promptly they say, but this doesn't give marks, it doesn't calibrate the grading. So when they see that advantage, one of the things that teachers really, I think, across the world find very painful is marking papers, marking assignments. And if you have a solution there that does things, they'll embrace it wholeheartedly. So I think the idea is to show them where what is in it for them, the whiffum of the tool and technology. So that's one aspect. The other is, again, what Stephanie said, that they get overwhelmed and they're not, so they avoid using it. So instead, if the school can have a support system, someone who can actually help them when they're stuck, and not sitting with them in the class because they'll never use the tool, but on call. So there's always this, someone's got my back kind of a thing. You feel that, okay, I understand and someone can help me always. So I think those are the things. And of course, another aspect that teachers, schools don't encourage, many of the schools don't encourage, is that make cohorts of teachers. So teachers who are teaching similar things, they can actually work together, split the work, share the load, rather than feel overwhelmed that each one has to make their own lesson plan, make their own resources, make their own teaching and learning materials. If you divide it up, it's digitized. You can use a lot of it next year. You can, of course, tweak it as well as you go along. I think the idea is to show how it benefits. That's what teacher training has to be, and not an additional burden of, one more thing to do. You hear teachers also saying that, we came here to teach, but we seem to be just working on the computer all the time. But if you show how using the computer or the technology can actually help them teach better, that would motivate them.
Yeah, I completely agree, because being in education industry since 18 years, I have seen that change, and digital revolution has actually saved my time for sure, because of course marking assessments have taken the digital platform, but still you cannot take the touch of the teacher while marking through the digital. It should be a balance of both. And in terms of assessment, if we tell the students that your assessment is not only the formative and summative content that you give, apart from that you are assessed for how you behave in the classroom, or how do you use the technology in a proper way, in an ethical way. All those things are also a part of assessment, because that's what we do in GEMS. And because of that, the students are more responsible in the class as well.
Absolutely. It has to be a blend and a balance.
Exactly.
For sure.
It's a hot topic. I just want to give you an opportunity to open it up if you'd like. You have 3 minutes left on the clock. So
Thank
do
you
if
so
you want
much,
to use
Rajan.
this for Q&A.
Now the floor is open for the discussion. If the audience has any question for us, please do shoot.
Okay. Or not, then you continue. Keep on talking about the good stuff, because technology is definitely a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
No doubt in education.
So the audience doesn't have any questions. That means we are able to answer all your questions or queries, whatever was there in your mind.
Or none of them.
Let's be positive.
Okay, we have a question.
Thank you so much.
Come on up to the microphone. There's two. Oh, there's a race for the mic. I like it. See, you just let it sit. People then go, oh yeah, I want to ask something. Come on up, introduce yourself, please.
Hello, my name is Marinka Mate. I'm from Denmark, and I have a question about the quality. If you think about having teachers to produce their own material, what is your thoughts about that quality, how to do that the best way, and what tools to use? So it's actually two questions, you could say.
So for teachers to create their materials. There are a number of ways, and you know, increasingly we've been talking about AI, and one of the benefits of AI is all the tools that are available for teachers. You can use Canva, you can create beautiful graphics, you can very fast, in no time at all. You have templates, you have worksheets which are pretty much pre-laid out. You change your text, you get a beautiful worksheet out of it. You can create your own presentations on topics using, again, Canva in particular has this magic presentation feature that they've included AI features. And there are other tools and technologies as well. But if I was to say, I would say Canva pretty much covers, they have a Canva for school, and I'm not paid to speak for Canva. I use Canva a lot. So they have a Canva for schools version, which helps you create pretty much anything you want. Videos, you want to create presentations, you want to create worksheets, and all in a jiffy with all the templates. The other part, there's a disclaimer there, that it's something that gets you so engrossed, it's a bit addictive, really. So when you start using Canva, you end up, just spend many, many more hours enhancing and beautifying it. So as long as you know that risk, you can actually use it quite quickly to create content if you don't get too involved in that world.
And to add on to it, funding is something which is very important here. So if the schools and organizations are ready to fund some good, on some good softwares like Canva, and there are many other like Phoenix, Active Learning, it's a boon to all the educators.
And it doesn't require to throw away everything that we've done so far. I mean, the important thing about the digitalization is that there's a balance between the offline and online learning, so we don't neglect all the other skills, the soft skills or the practical skills as well. So a combination of the two is always still a good thing, so it doesn't require you to throw your entire lesson plan into the bin.
But just to answer your point on funding in schools, Canva for schools is free. TED Ed is free. They give you all ready-made, ready-made lessons, and you can create your own using all the TED resources. The third one that can be used, which is really, really engaging for students and children, is Kahoot. These are lovely quizzes, very exciting. So there are a lot of free tools out there as well.
Wonderful. Well, give it a round of applause for our fantastic panelists this morning. It was incredible and very, very informative.